I am Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. Scarf Day in New Zealand. People remember and show togetherness a week after the Mosque murders. Facebook admits it didn't keep millions of users' passwords safe. How will the world's third largest democracy deal with fake news ahead of elections next month? We go to Jakarta. And animals stealing stuff. Our producer's lunch, actually. And top of our newsfeed, the world remembers those lost in an attack on 2 mosques on Friday, the 15th of March. And a nationwide day of remembrance has been held in New Zealand. At 1:30 p.m, people paused as the adhan was heard. These are videos of it by those who were there posted to social media. Now, the call to prayer was broadcast nationally and then silence for 2 minutes to honour the dead. Similar visuals are also happening around the world in a stand against Islamophobia and terror. And in solidarity, some women in New Zealand have been wearing headscarves to show their support for the Muslim community. Here's Adama.
One week on from the terror attacks in New Zealand, women have come together wearing headscarves as an act of unity. At a time when Muslim women feel vulnerable to attack due to the visibility of their faith, Rowan Rush started the Scarves in Solidarity campaign, encouraging women to cover their heads in support of Muslim women in Christchurch. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern also encouraged women in the country to wear headscarves by wearing one herself during a memorial service for the victims. She spoke of unity by quoting a saying from the Prophet Muhammad.
The believers in the mutual kindness, compassion and sympathy are just like one body. When any part of the body suffers, the whole body feels pain. New Zealand mourns with you. We are one.
And that's a statement that many participants have taken to heart.
If anybody else turns up waving a gun, I want to stand between him and anybody he might be pointing it at. And I don't want him to be able to tell the difference, because there is no difference.
Women took to social media too, showing support for the movement by posting pictures of themselves. But it's not the first time the headscarf has been used to symbolise support for Muslims after terror attacks. An Australian-based campaign encouraged non-Muslim women to wear headscarves to support Muslim women in 2015. The Women in Solidarity with Hijabis or WISH, who have more than 21,000 likes on Facebook, say Muslim women are being increasingly targeted because of their appearance. New Zealand is currently going through a healing process following last week's attacks. And what has become a symbolic gesture of unity sends a loud message of welcome and tolerance towards Muslims in the country.
And when the history of what happened last week at those mosques is written, how will Facebook's role be recorded? The site was used to live stream the murders and then hosted the video for hours before it was eventually taken down. But did they act quickly enough? Or, if we want this kind of technology, do we have to accept that some people will continue to abuse it?
I agree that is absolutely something that we need to acknowledge and do what we can to prevent the notoriety that this individual seeks. He obviously had a range of reasons for committing this atrocious terrorist attack. Lifting his profile was one of them, and that's something that we can absolutely deny him.
Time now for some other things that caught our eye on social media. Facebook has admitted that they have been storing millions of our passwords in an insecure way, a way that even the least skilled hacker could access. They were stored in plain text, and further, they were not encrypted. Facebook is currently under criminal investigation in the US over deals they had with major tech firms to share our data and profit without users' explicit consent. An old lady in the UK has been arrested by the police because she put it on her bucket list. Cops in the city of Bristol fulfilled her wish and put her in handcuffs and took her away in a squad car. Anne Brokenbrow is 104 and says that she has never, ever fallen foul of the law. Well, Indonesia is holding elections in April, and there's been a huge increase in the amount of lies and misleading information appearing on social networks there. But the world's third biggest democracy is aware of the dangers and seem to be dealing with it. Jack Hewson's in Jakarta. I spoke to him the other day and began by asking what's being done to try and offset the damage done by the spread of fake news.
There's a significant amount of activity, both in government and outside, to try and combat fake news. There's an NGO that was set up this year called Mafindo, which is the first designated NGO to tackle fake news stories. So there's people out there who are trying to do things about it. Inside Jokowi, the President Jokowi's campaign team, there is what they're referring to as a fake news war room, where they flag stories and they try and get it out to the media that a given story is false. Now, they're not necessarily as effective as the actual hoax stories themselves. For example, one of Mafindo's truther stories, which debunked some of the myths which were being spread about President Jokowi, was only retweeted twice and liked 17 times, so they don't necessarily get the same amount of exposure. But there are people who are attempting to educate people who are trying to get the truth out there. One of the recent stories which came out in January was of a fake news story which was of a shipping container supposedly found at a major port in Indonesia, which contained millions of ballot papers which had already been stamped in favor of President Jokowi. This was found to be false, and the person responsible was actually prosecuted for spreading fake news, which is a criminal offence in Indonesia. But what's concerning about it is it was actually attempting to undermine the democratic process itself. So that is worrying, that people could view democracy as being flawed, or in a context like that where people's faith in the democratic system is undermined, they may not recognize the election result no matter who wins. So, what's being done, again, there's these fake news war rooms that have been set up by the incumbent President Jokowi. The social media companies say they're trying to do as much as they can to stop this, although apparently are failing, it appears. There are also NGOs, as I previously mentioned, who are attempting to address this issue and are attempting to get the truth out there. And of course, there are legal means by which the government can prosecute people who are spreading fake news. It is illegal to do so in Indonesia, and people have been caught and prosecuted. What is not illegal, though, is to set up a fake account. And this is something which actually both the candidates have been deploying as part of their campaign strategies. And this is more of a legal grey area, because a lot of these fake accounts spread fake news. But both President Joko Widodo and the opposition candidate Prabowo Subianto, their campaign teams have been found to employ online campaign strategists who then employ people to set up fake accounts to support them. So it's a kind of a difficult situation where one phenomenon feeds into the other, and much more needs to be done to address it.
Now, measles cases continue to be reported in many parts of the world, and health authorities are struggling to contain them. Now, much of its spread is coming because large parts of the population have been refusing to get vaccinated. In Costa Rica, which hasn't had a measles case since 2006, a family of Americans are in quarantine as authorities suspect they have the virus after a relative visited them last week. Now, no one in the family have been vaccinated. And while Costa Rica fights to get ahead of the breakout in Ukraine, health teams there are playing catch-up. Let's go around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Friday. Nearly 3 million people have signed an online petition demanding the UK government to change their mind on leaving the European Union. So many people were trying to sign it yesterday that the site crashed multiple times. Now, the petition will probably have no effect on the UK government, as they have shown their intransigence when it comes to the possibility of anything but Brexit or bust. It is World Water Day, a day for people to recognise the precious resource and raise awareness. The UN say that a third of people on the planet are without safe water in their homes. Now, lack of access to clean water means infestation and infections and waterborne diseases, which can spread more easily. Nearly 1 million people die each year as a result of not having a safe water supply. Scientists in China are delighted with the discovery of these fossils, which are more than 500 million years old. They're from a period in the Earth's history called the Cambrian explosion. That's when many of the creatures we know today came into being. Scientists say the discovery is a huge moment in evolutionary history. The NGO Influence Map has shown the amount fossil fuel companies have been paying to try and undermine efforts to agree to the global climate change deal. They report that Shell, ExxonMobil, BP and Chevron and Total have spent more than $1 billion since the 2016 Paris Climate Agreement to try and lobby for increased extraction of fossil fuels and produce misleading information about the dangers of climate change. The companies have spent tens of millions of dollars on Facebook ads questioning accepted climate science about the dangers the planet faces, while at the same time paying lip service to the ideals of reducing man's reliance on carbon-based fuel. And Wikipedia was turned off in Europe yesterday in protest at an incoming European law. The law's Article 11 and Article 13 of the General Data Protection Regulations would allow publishers to charge a platform that links to their work and make platforms legally responsible for users uploading copyrighted material. Critics of the law say the move will stifle creativity and perhaps freedom of expression online. Supporters say it will allow those who make something to be adequately compensated for their product. Now, a couple of animals doing stuff coming now, and it's Friday, of course. First, a viral video out of the UK shot in a man's messy shed, where, unable to put up with all the bits and bobs strewn over the workbench, a mouse starts picking up after the human it shares the shed with. This has been seen millions of times since it was posted. I can only hope the human who made the mess was grateful for the rodent helping clean up. What a helpful little fella. But in fact, not all animals are helpful. In fact, they can be downright pesky, as our producer Ezra found out while she was on her trip to Australia. Her and her friends were out enjoying some fish and chips when these cockies or cockatoos flew in and stole their fries and a bit of fish too. As you can see, as the first pair flew off, their buddies were just waiting in the wings on a bin to scoop in for more. Better protect those fries, Ezzy. And that's all from the NewsFeed team. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter and YouTube, and you can follow me on Instagram. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again very soon.